how much does the life insurance actually cost? So this is one of the biggest questions that consumers ask me, ask the internet, ask their financial advisor. You know, they may think they want it, need it, whatever, but at the end of the day, they got to know as soon as possible, how much is this really going to cost, right? So buying life insurance, you know, sometimes people can be a little skeptic, you know, whether or not they need it, whether or not they can afford it. So in honor of Life Insurance Awareness Month, I wanted to go ahead and cover this topic. So if you don't know me, my name is Melissa Skur with Insure the Heroes Life Insurance Agency. And I have 15 years plus experience in the insurance field, you know, the industry as a whole, not just life insurance. So I got a lot of experience with how this works. All right, so first off, before we get into some of the details on, you know, about how much life insurance costs, I want you to be aware that online quoters are basically deceptive in a way. They're convenient, you know, they're going to give you a ballpark, they're going to give you a starting place, but they're really not the best place to look when you are shopping for life insurance prices. I chose not to use one on my site. I can, you know, throw one up there if I want to, maybe on one page, but I don't feel like it serves my customers very well, or, you know, my prospects, people who are looking into life insurance, because ultimately you need a little bit of consultation. You know, if you haven't really dug and done that on your own, you don't really know what to quote. So when you go in there and you just start putting in all these prices, you know, the first problem, number one, is that you may not be quoting the right amount of coverage or the right length, you know, for your situation. And secondly, the biggest problem is they're going to give you a ballpark. So a quoter, you know, on a website really can't ask you all of the questions that are required to provide the right rate. So for the most part, life insurance, like many other insurance products, are underwritten, you know, by the insurance companies. And so it's getting better and better. You know, there's a lot of insure tech companies out there that are making it, you know, better and more accurate, to use a lot of the software and tools and data and all that stuff, to be able to just spit out rates for you that are pretty accurate, but it's not quite, you know, 100%. So that's not really the best place to look, because like I was saying, companies are going to look at several lifestyle factors. So age is one of them. The younger that you are, the cheaper life insurance is. I don't like to use the word cheap really in a lot of cases, but it is less expensive the younger that you are, just because that's how it works. You know, the younger you are, you're less risky. You know, you're likely not going to have a lot of health issues. And that's why, you know, when you have policies on your babies, which a lot of people think that's really creepy, and some people value that. That's why when you buy child life insurance and you get, you know, a separate policy outside of your own for your child, it's really inexpensive. And so when you're, you know, anywhere from 18 to like 30, it's pretty affordable. And it's not that it's not affordable, but you know, start going 30, 40, 50, it's going to get more expensive. And usually, depending on your risk, 45 to 65, it's higher. I don't want to say expensive, but if you happen to be in that situation where, you know, you're between the ages of 45 and 65 and you need insurance, depending on your risk profile and how much you're looking for, it could be like more than you were really hoping for. You know, it's not going to cost you $9.99 or $11.99 or whatever they're saying on the TV. So yeah, and just be aware that a lot of the advertisements you get online, you know, in the mail, the TV commercials, they're gonna tell you the lowest price, and that's not a bad thing. They usually have, you know, your disclaimer at the foot of the, you know, TV channel or your brochure that you're getting in the mail, because they definitely want to promote the lowest rate that it could be for somebody, right? But you need to get an individual analysis based on your particular situation. How old are you? Do you have any dangerous hobbies? Do you have a dangerous occupation? Do you smoke? How tall are you? How much do you weigh? Have you been losing weight? And has that weight been maintained for a certain period of time? Because that will affect your rate as well. Are you taking medications? What kind of health issues do you have? Treatments, things like that. Yeah, so those are like the main factors that determine the price, which is the rate, often referred to, of your life insurance, okay? So there's those lifestyle factors that companies actually really need to combine everything to be able to give you that rate. And at the end of the day, the underwriter is going to make the final decision on that price. So even agents, as knowledgeable as us agents are, been doing this a while. I've approached, companies for different situations, and I've worked with a lot of clients that have a variety of situations. I've worked for people who are really young, really healthy, it's very easy, and it's blah, blah, blah. And I've worked with people who have very challenging health issues or just occupations, obviously, being a military spouse, working with military personnel. And so, it's my job to really combine the factors and then find that company that's gonna approach, the best rate. But insurance companies at the end of the day are the ones that decide. It's not the agent. The agent's gonna field as best as they can ahead of time, get, a lot of information from you. They're gonna ask you, do you take any medications? Are you sure you're not forgetting any? And lots of times people do forget. So they forget they were prescribed a medication, and companies do look at usually 5 to 10 years back. So if you honestly forget, okay, but don't try to hide anything from your agent up front, whether you're working directly with a company, a call center, or an independent broker. When they ask you these questions, there's a reason. And if they're not asking you, I would be skeptical because what's going to happen is you're just going to run into a big mess later. You may get so far with a company that you just might be fed up and realize, well, you got this far and now it's not really how it turned out to be. And so, maybe you work with a captive company and they only have one, line of products to work with for you. Maybe they're conservative in their rate structure, so they're going to offer you something that's a lot higher than if you went with an independent broker that had a different mixture or, all that. So you really want to make sure that when you're shopping for life insurance, that you don't 100% rely on the online quoters, and that the person that you're talking to initially, if you do get, to set aside that time to talk to a representative, that they are asking you questions such as all of these lifestyle factors, because they're not, they could just be guessing. And actually a lot of agents do that just to win your business. So they do that and they give you the lowest price because they're just going to fix it later for you. And that's not really fair. I don't like that way of doing that because then everybody's just mad. And it's not a good process for you as a consumer. But that is a tactic out there. So, they won't necessarily tell you, or maybe the person on the phone doesn't really know that, people with this certain condition are going to get a higher rate. So it's a really good idea to be as upfront as possible and make sure your agent, is asking you some questions, because that's how you're going to get the accurate cost, the most accurate ballpark cost that you could get pre-application. And then once you put in your application, depending on the type of policy, that it is getting faster these days, and there's a lot of expedited applications is what they call it. So it's not necessarily going to be a long, lengthy process, but in one way or another, whether it's a quick database InsurTech kind of process, or the old school manual way, I guess, where you're going to order records, look at your prescription history, your application goes to an underwriter's desk, it gets in their queue, and they look at it. There's going to be a review of some kind on most life insurance products. So it's a really good idea, to kind of have that sorted out ahead of time so you have the most accurate idea. And if things change, that's okay. You can revisit it. So let's say you went with the wrong person and you realize, you know what, they didn't tell me all this. I was upfront, or wow, we didn't talk about this particular situation ahead of time, and now I've got this offer. And they're still giving me insurance, but it's way higher than what I wanted to spend. Well, that's the time to really say, well, did I work with an independent broker? Did the broker that I'm working with have a lot of companies or just a few? It's going to pay at that point to maybe get a second opinion, if you will, because you're going to lock yourself into a 10, 20, 30-year policy. Might be a good idea, right? To get a second opinion. Because you definitely want to do that. Make sure you're getting the best rate based on your situation. What I do want to kind of wrap up here, because I do have a tendency to ramble. I'm going to wrap up here with saying that if you get an offer that is not what you were hoping for because of a certain situation, maybe you realize, here's some really common ones, okay? So people quit smoking, but they don't quit long enough. So in their mind, they quit. Well, the insurance company doesn't consider you a non-tobacco user until you're actually not using any form of tobacco for a straight year. And it's even better for you if you can stop using it for 2 to 4. So there's some other carriers that will open up, but there are a handful. As long as you are honest about it and they can verify with an exam, you have no nicotine in your system and you have not used tobacco within a year, sure. But if you quit and you pick up a cigarette once for 4 months, you're gonna have to disclose that on application, or they might find it in your exam. And so yes, you will get tobacco rate. So okay, fine. Get the tobacco rate for the time frame that you need to. Lock it in for the same time frame if you can. You have to look at your budget for that, but make a plan. If you're actually gonna quit, cool. Your agent can help you with that. You lose weight. You found out during your life insurance review you're slightly over a certain weight tier that's not going to get you the ultimate best rate. All right, I know that stinks, right? But if you are working on it and you end up losing weight, you can go back to that lower tier. You can redo it, provided you don't have any other health issues that come up along the way. So lots of people don't know that that's what they could do. So that's why it pays really to work with a broker that has a lot of knowledge to do that. If you are looking for more life insurance tips, easy to follow, non-sales pressure type of life insurance videos, sort of like this one, a little bit shorter and succinct and to the point. You can get those delivered to your inbox over an 8-week period by going to insuretheheroes.com/video-series. So I'll put that there in the comments so you can just click on it, check it out. I got a little video on that page that explains it a little better. But yeah, that's going to help, take you from starting point before you start looking for quotes, starting point A, all the way to the end, and you'll be crystal clear on what you need to know about your life insurance. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you probably tomorrow or the next day, or probably Tuesday. All right, bye.